Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I'm back out in the shop and I have the pistons and piston rods out of our Vulcan steam locomotive, and we're going to start the process of trying to get these remanufactured. If you've been following along with the whole locomotive series, you know that we're going to have to re-sleeve the cylinders in there to get them back down to size, but also these pistons themselves are worn undersized. They need to be larger, so we're going to be making new pistons. We also need to make new piston rods. The piston rods are worn where they go through a packing gland pretty significantly, and they are a little bit undersized in there as well, and that's causing us some issues with keeping that packing in those packing glands. So we need to make new piston rods and new pistons. The piston rods are made out of steel, and we're going to be probably making these. I got to get some source, but we're looking at getting some hydraulic rods, some chrome-plated rod, like you use in hydraulic cylinders. And we'll be using those. We have that hard chrome on the outside that goes through the packing gland really well, and it just doesn't rust as bad and everything else. So I'm looking at getting some of that source. I need to get these off so I can get all my measurements and I get those ordered so that we can get new piston rods made. And then the pistons themselves, these are cast iron. They're hollow on the inside. There's a couple of options that we could do. We could braze these up and then turn them down to the new larger diameters. That's a completely acceptable repair, one that I've seen done many times. But instead, I think what we're going to do is we're going to actually just cast new pistons and get them all to the correct size that we need for the locomotive. I've already made patterns for these. In fact, in this video, I will show you those patterns before we send them off to the foundry, who's going to be casting new pistons for us. And the pattern is, you'll see, a little bit complicated. It's just not just the outside diameter of this, but you also have a core that goes on the inside, because like I said, this piston is hollow on the inside. So anyway, I've got all that already done, and I'll show you those here in a little bit. First thing I think we want to try to get done here is I want to get the pistons and piston rods separated from one another. These piston rods are tapered on either end, so this is in a taper, and it also has a nut on the front that kind of holds it all together. I'm sure that they are extremely tight in there. We'll take these over to the hydraulic press and see if we can press them apart. I would like to get these shafts out. I need to get the measurements on those and just make sure I've got everything straight so that I can get some material ordered. So tell you what, let's start. I'll show you the patterns that we got for the pistons, and we'll get those over to the foundry here real soon, and then we'll work on getting these things taken apart. I wanted to show the pattern here that we've got made that I'm going to be sending to the foundry to have the new pistons cast from. So, of course, we've got the pistons here. You can see where the piston rod comes through. As I think I had talked about before, if you notice on the front of these pistons, you see there's 3 holes in this one and 4 holes in this one. They've been plugged up. These were drilled and tapped with a pipe tap thread, and they were plugged with a plug and then machined off flat. But that's because the inside of this piston is hollow. There's a hollowed out core on the inside, and the whole purpose of that is just to lighten the piston up. That chunk of cast iron right there is extremely heavy, and we want to lighten it up, make it a little bit more manageable. So there is a hollow area on the inside of the casting. This, of course, cast iron. Now with the core, or with that hollow place, what you have to do when you're molding this is, of course, we'll make a sand mold. This is the actual pattern right here that I've got. Basically, you can kind of see it's the same. It's a little bit larger diameter, a little bit thicker, so we have some material that can be machined off. If we were to just mold this up, it'd be solid. So to get around that, if you look on the bottom, I've got 3 little pieces. That's the 3 holes. And this is the little yellow area is indicated by what will be the core. Let me show you the core box that actually makes the core. This core box right here, basically this yellow kind of area on the inside, is where the sand will be put into this. It will be molded. It'll be hardened. They basically use a calcium silicate, I think is what it is. They put in the sand. When it's exposed to carbon dioxide, it turns that sand very hard. So they take a mold out. There's 3 little holes down in the bottom there that will make the 3 little legs that will support the core up through the bottom here. And then basically you got this disc that will be a solid piece of sand. When you mold this up, you'll mold this in the sand. You'll have the 3 little, these are called core prints. The little feet actually fit down in that. And basically when you pull the molds out of the sand mold, you then place the core inside of that, and you have a sand core. When it's all cast, of course you have sand on the inside, but we can get that sand out through these holes. So that is the whole deal here. We've got the pattern and then the matching core box that will be used by the foundry to cast this. Now I'm sending these out to Clark Easterling over at Windy Hill Foundry. I'm sure that Clark will have a video when he does this in the foundry, when he molds these, and you can kind of see that process. I'll try to put a link to that video whenever he posts that on his site down the road, but I did want to go ahead and kind of show you these patterns. Now the patterns here, these are just 3D printed. I modeled this up. You know, I'm kind of cheating. Back in the old day, a pattern maker would have made these out of wood, and I made the core box. And pretty much everything that I'm showing you here, he would have made it all out of wood. Pattern makers were very specialized woodworkers that did precision stuff for making patterns for foundrymen. Yeah, I'm cheating. I basically drew all this stuff up in CAD. I used Fusion 360, and then I just 3D printed all these pieces of plastic to make the individual parts for both the pattern and the core box. I have a Bamboo Labs 3D printer. It's not out here in the shop, it's up in the house, but I'm able to just print these out. It's a pretty good size, large format printer, so I was able to come do these. This is a split pattern. It divides in 2 pieces, and the idea here is you got 2 halves of the mold, the bottom half and the top half. So you got one split pattern for both pieces there. The reason I will show you here too, the core box is designed where it'll kind of come apart. That's just kind of help to actually make it all come apart easier. So even this piece slides out, then you can kind of knock it all apart in pieces. It's such a large core that it would be difficult to get all of this to really come out once it's all molded together. So the fact that I got this in pieces just makes it come apart a little bit easier when the time comes to pull it apart. So anyway, there's the pattern and the core box. And like I said, we'll be sending those over to Windy Hill Foundry for casting here very soon. Now I've got this over here in my big 8-inch Wilton vise, and I got a big wrench here. Let's see if I can get this to come off. Yeah. Let me get some heat and put on that and see if that'll help. All right, I got a rosebud here, and I'm just going to try to heat that outer nut up. Let's try that again. Man. A little more heat. Things are on there good. I'm going to try an impact socket on here. I got a 1-inch drive socket. I got it going down to my 1/2-inch drive impact. That's not doing anything. I'm going to put my adjustable wrench on here because I can get a cheater bar on this. Let me see if I can get that to come. let's try this. Whole piston's turning. Man, oh man, oh man. All right, we're gonna try this again. I've got a pull handle on here with that socket. I got my piston reset in the vise. Let's see if we can get this going here. All right. It's turning the whole piston again. Man. All right, we're doing another round of heating here. Seeing if we can get this thing off. I'll heat it up a little bit hotter this time. All right, let's try that. The nut has grown in size a little bit. I think it's working. Put this other one on here. That one's not going to fit either. This one should. Yeah, it's coming now. All right. Man, thing fought. There we go. That's got the nut off, and that thing's hot as a firecracker, so we'll leave it alone. All right, I'm gonna let this cool down because it's probably too hot to handle right now, and we'll get our hydraulic press in here, see if we can press that out. While that's cooling down, I'm gonna see if I can get these old rings off of here. There we go, that one's off. I think I'll take the other one off the backside after I get this off though. I don't have to take it off and into this groove and take it off again. It'll be easier just to go off the backside, but it's in the vise right now where I can't get to it. All right, we'll let that cool. Let me get my hydraulic press in here and we'll see if we can get that separated. So I've got the piston over here set up in our Rogers 60-ton hydraulic press. Hopefully that's going to be enough to get that thing out. Should be. So let's see if we can put a little pressure on it and break it out. I will notice I got it blocked up here, and I got some wood down here on the bottom so that when that piece drops out, it's only going to come about, I don't know, ½ of an inch, which will be enough to get it out because because of the taper, once it breaks loose, it's loose. But hopefully keep that shaft from going all over the floor. So let's put some pressure on here. I'm backing up just in case. We got 1,000 pounds of pressure on there. Excuse me, we got 2,000 pounds of hydraulic pressure on there. At 10,000 pounds, we're at 60 tons. So let me do some math here. All right, so this This press is capable of doing 60 tons. That's at 10,000 PSI on my gauge over here. I'm at 2,000 PSI right now. That's about 12 tons roughly. So we're gonna put a little bit more pressure on it. All right, we got up to about 15, 16 tons to break it loose, but it is broke loose. And we can go ahead now and pull that out. I think we're good to go. All right, let's see if we can get this other piston ring out of here now. There we go. So if you look up here on the front, this where the nut goes on, it's kind of countersunk in there, and the nut is actually turned to kind of fit down in there. And that's so that you don't have a whole lot sticking out in the front, because this piston comes forward and can hit something. So they just recess that back in there. And the blueprints show that too. I was kind of curious to see how it looked when I got it apart. All right, this one is apart. I need to get the other one apart. And same process, and we'll have at least that step done. I'm curious to see how much this piston weighs. Let me put it over here on some scales and see. All right, 75 pounds, let's just say. And I know when I drew this up in CAD, it was saying it was about 100 pounds, but you got to remember we're casting this oversized, and you got all this metal that's come out of these rings and out of the bore that will be in the casting. So it's probably the casting that we produce will actually probably be somewhere close to 100 pounds when it's all said and done. So, but that's a heavy piece of cast iron. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get the other one over here and see if I can get it taken apart just like that one. Got the second piston over here in the vise, ready to go. I will note that they went around this one and kind of punched it. That's just kind of to lock that nut in there so it doesn't back off. Those little indentions will just kind of make it more difficult to back out. So that's going to probably make it a little bit more difficult, but I'm hoping we can get with it. I'm going to heat this one up until it's good and red hot this time before we even start, and we'll see if we can break it loose. So we'll turn that off, put my adjustable wrench on here, get that tightened down. Put my cheater bar on it. Let's see if we can get this thing to break loose. Man. Man, that's on there good, but it does appear to be coming. Man. gonna be exhausted. I'm going to switch over to the ratchet now. I think I got enough pressure off of it. I'm still going to use a cheater bar, but I'm not having to put as much pressure as I was. Typically, I don't like to put a cheater bar on a ratchet because it'll tear the little ratchet mechanism up. But I think we're to the point where I can get away with it. This is a 1-inch drive ratchet set that I've got for using on this bigger stuff. Don't use it a lot. When you need it, it sure is nice to have. This is a really nice proto set that I found on Facebook Marketplace down in Florida. And when I contacted the guy, he was actually one of my viewers. I don't remember what I paid for it, but I got a good deal on it. And it's a nice, good, American-made, old quality set. Let's see if I can do this without the cheater bar now. It's almost off. There it is. Whew. That was work. And now we're ready to press this back apart. Some pressure on there. That's about 10 tons. And we're about 24, 25 tons. All right, we were about 30 tons on that one. That one took a lot more, but we got it. All right. So I want to look at the diameter of these piston rods. They're supposed to be 2 inches, and that is what we're measuring, 2 inches on the nominal size. But if you look right here, you can see where this is where the area that goes through the packing gland. It's probably got an area, what is that, about 18 inches long, 19 inches long, that goes back and forth in that packing gland as the piston is moving. And that over the last 100 and almost 10 years, it has just worn this piston rod down. So again, we're 2 inches out here. You come in here, we're 1 inch, 790 thousandths. So we're 210 thousandths smaller in diameter here than we are right here. So, and what's happening is that this is actually not a consistent diameter. I'm measuring about 790 there and about 820 up on the other end. So as it's going back and forth, the size of this rod is shrinking and growing, and that's just ripping that packing out. We're having trouble keeping it sealed up. When we replace these with new piston rods, they'll all be a consistent size. And also being that chrome-plated rod is what we're planning on doing. It'll slide in that packing gland much easier, and the packing should last a lot longer. All right, let me get the length on these. So we're 2 inches in diameter. The pistons are 40 inches long. Check the other one over here, it's the same. So I need to order 2 pieces of 2 inch by 40 inch chrome plated rod. I want the outer part to be chrome plated and hard, but I want the center part of the steel to be machinable. I don't want it super hard. So I'll have to figure out what we need to order and get that ordered. And then we can start working on making some new piston rods while we're waiting on the castings for the pistons themselves. Well, guys, I think we have all of the pistons disassembled and in their individual pieces, which was kind of my goal for today. Really, the big thing I needed on this was I needed to get the pistons out, or the piston rods out, because I've got to make new piston rods. And like I said before, there's some, I wanted to look at the construction of them, which I couldn't really tell. I have blueprints, so I want to confirm that everything's the way the blueprints are, and it pretty much appears to be. Also, having these out will allow me to kind of copy these tapers. When I set up the taper attachment on the lathe out at the museum, I'm gonna have to do these on the lathe at the museum because of the length of the rods there. It's a little bit too long to do on my lathe, but we'll be able to do it out there. But anyway, we'll get that set up. We'll have these to actually run an indicator on and get things adjusted just right. So anyway, we got all the pieces and parts here. I have got the new steel ordered to make the piston rods out of. Again, I'm going with a chrome plated steel that should wear a lot better than these old ones did, even though, you know, this one here is 110 years old. Yeah, we're going to go with that. I also have ordered some hex stock to make some new nuts out of. This is 2 3/8 inch hex. That should be getting here in the next few days. The patterns are at the foundry for the pistons. As soon as Clark can get those done, we'll get those castings back and can start working on these. So all this is in the process of getting done. I'm just waiting on all the different pieces and parts to come in before we can actually do the machining work. But we've got step 1 done here. Little update on the locomotive project as a whole. I think I had shared in a previous video a little bit about the scope of work of everything that needs to be done. So first and foremost, the number one top critical thing that we need to do is we need to get these pistons back into the locomotive and up and going. Along with that, with making the new pistons and the piston rods, we're also needing to bore out the cylinders, have some custom sleeves made, put those into the cylinders, and get everything down to the proper size from where that wear is in there. And also related to this, we need to get the valves, the valve covers machined flat, scraped in flat, and also the pieces, the bottom piece down on the locomotive, it needs to be flattened out as well, which I'm probably just going to get out there and do hand scraping to get it done, because I don't have a way to get a milling machine on anything out there to actually flatten it out. So we'll be doing some of that stuff coming up here pretty soon. When you're looking at the cost of everything, you know, I've got this part, which again is top priority. I mentioned before, there's some other things that we have on our list that is kind of critical that needs to be done in the near future. We need to make a new cab for the locomotive, a steel cab. The steel cab that's on there, again, is 110 years old, and it is starting to rot away from rust. It's literally, there's holes starting to rust completely through it in some places. It's small right now, but we're needing to make a new cab. That's going to have to be fabricated out of steel. We're already talking to some folks about doing that work. The saddle tank on the locomotive has some leaks in it. This is the water tank that holds the water, and we've got some leaks in it again where the steel is starting to rust through in some places. We need to actually cut a section out up under the bottom of that tank, get a new piece of steel bent to the proper radius and welded in there to replace it. That needs to be done. And then another big job that is getting to be something that needs to be done very badly is we need to do some wheel work to the locomotive. We need to take the wheels completely off the locomotive. We need to basically have it retired. We put new tires on it. We need to take the old tires off. The tires are steel tires onto a cast hub. We need to take the old tires off, have new tires made, new tires shrunk on in place, and everything machined back together. That's the job we're going to have to send off to another shop to get done, because we just don't have the means and mechanisms and machinery and everything required to do that at our shop. Some rough numbers. We're working on getting quotes and estimates on all this right now. Rough numbers on the whole project as a whole, we're looking at roughly around $75,000. And we are also in the process of doing some fundraising to come up with that money, because the museum doesn't have that money just sitting in a budget that we can go, maybe a little bit of it, but surely not all of it, far from all of it. I want to say thank you to the people who watch my channel that have contributed toward that. I've heard from the museum that we have received some donations that are going to go toward this project, which is greatly appreciated. If that is something you would like to do, I'm going to put a link down in the description below where you can go directly to the museum's website and make a donation toward this project. If you want to, you can go to the Georgia Museum of Agriculture's webpage. There is a donate button on there. You click on that button, and when that next page comes up, there is a drop-down menu where you can designate where you want the money to go to, and one of the options is Vulcan Steam Train. And if you select that, it will go into an account that can be used towards all this restoration work that we're doing. The museum's also looking at some alternate funding mechanisms. We've got a proposal in with a local group that we're hoping to get some funding from. We're hoping to get some funding maybe from the college, the Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College. ABAC is kind of the parent organization that the museum falls under. We're hoping that we can get a little bit of money from them, maybe even go to the state legislature and get some funding over there. Don't know yet. We're working on all that. A lot of moving parts. Anytime you're asking for money, obviously it's not very easy, but we've got to come up with a good bit of money to get this thing going. So again, if you would like to help out, you can definitely do that. And because it is a museum and part of the college, it is a tax-deductible donation if you choose to do so. And again, thank you to everyone who has done that so far. Again, I heard that we have received a few donations over there, which is greatly, greatly appreciated. All right, guys, that is a wrap. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and those comments are really, really helpful. They help out with the algorithms on YouTube. They help my channel be discovered by other people, which helps me out tremendously. Also, a big, huge thank you to those who support my site through Patreon, PayPal, and YouTube memberships, all of which are great ways to help out my channel as well. It is those donations that I get over there, those contributions you guys make that really enable me to be able to take the time to shoot these videos, to do all the extra work that goes along with bringing this stuff to you, rather than just coming out here and working the shop and getting things done. So again, thank you for everybody that does that. And with that, I'm going to sign off. We'll get out of here. Catch you on the next video. Again, as always, thanks for watching.